friends, to Victory Lane with Christian Potts. We're talking about Jimmie Johnson again. If people are tired of hearing about him, well, you may have to wait till next season or maybe a long time down the road. Johnson doing really what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, getting a great finish on a day that things were not going well for him. He had an early problem on pit lane, fell all the way to 30th, a lap down, fought to get his lap back. Then in the closing laps of the race, passed about 10 cars, wound up finishing second behind Carl Edwards. Edwards thought he'd made a big move in the standings after Johnson had early race problems. He couldn't believe it when he got to Victory Lane and found out Johnson finished about 3 seconds behind him in second place. He still has a lot of respect for the guy that he continues to chase.
He's a heck of a competitor, just like I've said before. He's the first guy to come congratulate you when you win, and in a way that just makes him harder to beat. He's just one of those guys that does it right. So we've got to hope that he has something happen like the things that we've had happen, and lose a couple hundred points, and we just have to be able to capitalize.
Here's how big the difference is in what Johnson was able to do. Edwards made up 15 points in the standings on Johnson with his victory. Had Johnson finished in 30th place, well, it would have been a different story. Edwards made 117 more points than the guy who finished in 30th. That would have cut 2/3 off of Johnson's lead. As it is, it's nearly 200 points over Edwards, who jumped from 4th to 2nd in the standings. A big part of things for Johnson was a late race decision on pit lane by his crew chief, Chad Knaus. That helped him make up about 10 spots at the end of the race, and quite a few of those points. His teammate Jeff Gordon talked about the importance of a crew chief in any championship run.
The reason why combinations like me and Ray back in the 90s, why Chad and Jimmy, why those stand out so much is because they're rare. It's just hard to find that combination, and it's not just the combination of the driver crew chief, it's all the people around them. It's the organization, the engines, the chassis, the engineering, it's all those things, but it usually starts at the top.
With all those championships in Gordon's pocket, he certainly knows what he's talking about on that topic. Well, this week the series goes down just down the road from us here in Oklahoma at Texas Motor Speedway outside of Fort Worth. This is a track that, since its opening in 1997, has been good to a lot of guys. 15 races at the track, 14 different guys have won there. Jeff Burton, who is currently 3rd in the standings, is the only driver who has 2 wins at the track. The earlier season race at the track, well, surprise, surprise, Edwards was 1st, Johnson was 2nd. It'll be a good weekend for people wanting to go down the road to see racing. All 3 of NASCAR's series will be there. Friday we'll have qualifying for all the races. Friday night the Craftsman Truck Series. Saturday the Nationwide Series race. And then Sunday afternoon will be the big Sprint Cup race. I was just checking ticket prices earlier in the day on Monday. Still quite a few good seats in the range of about $50 to $150 in the grandstand. Give yourself plenty of time to get there if you've never been. The traffic gets really interesting down there on I-35 within a few miles of the track. Well, that's all for this week's show. Next week, we'll look back at that race. We'll only have 2 more races to go after that. Also want to give a special shout out to one of my favorite fans of the show. That'd be my little girl Allison, turns 4 this week. She may be the most loyal watcher we have. So, hey, Daddy loves you. Keep on watching. That's all for this week. We'll see you next week in Victory Lane with Christian Potts.